Have you ever gotten a phone call that changed your life? I imagine something might come to mind. Maybe it was good news, maybe it was bad. But often, one moment can change everything. That was true for Matt Duclos about 2.5 years ago when he was having a pretty normal day at the pre-seminary that he was going to, preparing to go to seminary. He knew he would be going away in the fall. He thought he would be going to Yonkers, not far from where he was studying at the time in Queens. But the call that he got on an average weekday was that he had been selected for a great honor, to be one of just 2 seminarians selected by our bishop to study not in Yonkers or anywhere else locally, but in Rome, in Italian, at the headquarters of the church. Are you interested in accepting this offer? He was asked. Can you imagine? Actually, many of you can, because you were here with him for the journey as he was preparing to leave. 2 years ago, he spent the whole summer with us here. And just over 2 years ago, he stood at this ambo and talked to us just 2 days before his flight was leaving from Newark to Rome. He now is halfway there. And he's back to share with us about what this has meant for him. So let's prepare our hearts to consider where in your own life has a call come that changed everything for you? And what has that yielded in your life, the way that this has yielded so much for Matt?
Good morning, everyone. It's wonderful to see you all and be back for a little visit here. Whenever I encounter someone, this summer especially, from a visit or something like this, or visiting parishioners or family or friends, I usually get 2 questions from them. The first one is, so, how was Rome? And the second one is always, when do you go back? So to answer number 1, sometimes I respond to the how was Rome question with just a simple, it was good. And that answer seems to satisfy a lot of people, as if a one-word answer can encompass everything that's happened over the course of 2 years. And sometimes I respond with, well, there are many blessings in Rome and there are many challenges, which is a little more detailed but still very vague. And honestly, to sit down and tell someone about everything that's happened over the course of 2 years would take just about 2 years. The experiences of visiting places all around Italy and in Europe, experiencing the cultures and the faith and the people and the food, the challenges of studying in a foreign language in an academic environment that's different from anything over here in America, meeting people from all over the world, studying the same faith that I am, the incredible blessings of meeting Pope Francis and serving with him at St. Peter's on Christmas Eve a couple years ago, the blessings of hosting family and friends and parishioners who visit Rome for tours, but the challenges of being away for 2 years, leaving from this parish to go straight to Newark, and then being away for different family events, the birth of my niece, the graduation of my sisters, different holidays. A simple answer of just good, it's impossible to contain all of those experiences. Just like if I asked you today, this morning, how are the past 2 years for you? Did I miss anything that happened in your life? How would you respond? You could say just good, and we'd move on in the conversation, but surely there's a lot more that goes into that answer. Even if I just asked, how are you in the past 2 months, or the past 2 weeks, or 2 hours, we need a lot more than a one-word answer to describe what happens and how we feel. But it's in these ups and downs of life, in these mountains and valleys, the word good just seems to erase all of that, but it's in those where we discover our faith. We can say to God, God, thank you for today. It's been really good. Lots of blessings. I'm feeling on top of the world. Or sometimes we feel the exact opposite. God, I'm really struggling today. A sense of hopelessness. I just can't seem to find the way forward. And you can bet that I've felt both of those things many times over the past few years, and I would guess that many of you can relate in different ways. But it's in those struggles and those valleys, those times of despair, that God is constantly at work to try and bring us back up and to help us through. The first verse of today's second reading from the letter to the Hebrews is so profound in this way. It says, "Brothers and sisters, faith is the realization of what is hoped for and evidence of things not seen." Faith is the realization of what is hoped for and evidence of things not seen. And the reading goes on to describe the faith of Abraham throughout his life. The faith that he needed to leave, traveling to the promised land. The faith he needed to trust in God when God promised him and Sarah a child. And the faith he needed to obey God to offer his only son, Isaac. So what does it take for us, like Abraham, to see with those eyes of faith, to put our trust in God, knowing that he's always at our side, accompanying us over the mountains and through the valleys, through the good and the bad? I think what this means is to be constantly open to God's call, to what God has in store for us, and to trust in him and be always willing to listen so we can be led by eyes of faith. And this is not easy at some points in life. Especially the last couple weeks in our diocese, we've lost a couple well-known people, very public people. Brother Ed, a couple weeks ago, the president of Siena College, died at the end of July from complications from heart surgery. And as Father Scott just mentioned, Sister Monica Murphy, director of the Pyramid Life Center up north and well-known in Catholic schools, just died this past Monday in a car accident. We can't expect these losses, these unexpected losses, and they point us actually to the parable that we heard in the gospel today, because Jesus instructs his disciples to be like servants who await their master's return from a wedding, ready to be open immediately when he comes and knocks. He encourages his disciples to be vigilant for the arrival of the Son of Man, because they just don't know the hour when he will return. And he compares it to a thief. If the owner of a house knows the hour when the thief will break in, more protection will be put in place to prevent the robbery. But we just don't know when a robbery like that will happen. We don't know the hour when Jesus will come or when God will call one of his children home. So how can we prepare ourselves? How can we keep our eyes of faith open for this? What can we do to anticipate the coming of that thief? Most of the time, we just can't be sure of what God will ask of us, what God will ask us to do. And it can be hard to prepare for something that we don't know is coming. But we can always prepare ourselves to be open to the call of God, to be listening to God and be prepared to follow his will. Because if we're always prepared to follow what God has in store for us, the arrival will never surprise us, and what he wants will never overwhelm us. And this is a lesson that I am continuing to learn, especially at the beginning of the journey a couple years ago. I could have never anticipated the opportunity that was given to me to go to Rome for 4 years to study. It wasn't on my radar, even in the slightest bit. So how could I respond? My answer was an answer of yes, trusting and being open to God that he will lead me forward on the way that I'm supposed to go. Trying to be ready with my eyes of faith open, trying to let him enter like an unexpected robber, trying to let him steal away what was in me that I needed to get rid of, and let him lead me in the way I should go. So, the answer to question number 2, when are you going back? And that answer is September 6th. Just less than a month now. This summer has really been full of blessings, especially reunions like this with friends and parishioners. And I'm grateful to Father Scott for inviting me here this weekend to see all of you again and give you a little update. I have 2 more years left in Rome. The plan is to be ordained a deacon over there next October 2020, and then the priesthood ordination, God willing, will be back home the following June in 2021. So, like myself, let's all try and prepare ourselves for God's coming into our lives. What does God have in store for me over the coming 2 years? It's impossible to know for sure. We can't prepare for what will happen or what he'll ask us to do, but we can prepare ourselves to be open to his will and accept whatever he has in store. So don't lock the door like you would for a robber, but instead unlock your heart to listen to God and let him steal you away to do his will.